thought leaders from the technology world. Friends, before I go into what I would like to say, I must comment on what Movin just said. Goa, incidentally, is my favorite place also. I think you are aware of that. And whenever I want to chill, I go to Goa. But I'm going to start with what you just said, because I think there's a big message in what you said, not only for all the states, but for all of us also in this room. Ever since Prime Minister Modi launched the Startup India mission on 16th January 2016, amongst his various initiatives and various programs, this was one of the most important and compelling cases to prepare for the future of India. And he always believed in all the programs that he has initiated that the strength or the success of these programs will come from the states. He has always been a big advocate of cooperative federalism. But while federalism should be cooperative, there must be an element of competition also. So we should collaborate with each other, and that is the spirit in which today's very, very important workshop took place. But at the same time, the collaboration should not lead to complacency. The collaboration should encourage competition. And I think I loved the fact that our states came up with a lot of good ideas, came up with a lot of good suggestions and information about the good work that each one of you have been doing. But at the same time, I can sense that there's also a spirit of competition to attract talent, to attract the startups to your own state with better policy initiatives, with better support systems. And together, when the center and state work in that spirit, we are bound to succeed. This whole initiative, this whole effort being done in the Silicon Valley of the East will surely be a big success. And I don't think there can be a better place to kickstart this workshop than Bengaluru. But certainly we'll come to Goa if you invite us, or to Kerala the next time around. Well, very recently I saw Rocketry, or was it Rocket Boys? Rocket Boys, sorry. The OTT platform Rocket Boys, where Dr. Homi Bhabha, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Dr. APG Kalam is also in that, Dr. Murad, the other gentleman who then went the other side, and all the good things that happened in their lives, what happened at the Indian Institute of Science, how they changed the destiny of India. Is it today that the first private spacecraft is going to be released? Already up. Wow. Congratulations to all of them. I think that calls for a round of applause. And I think you must convey to the ISRO chairman that all of us deeply appreciate the wonderful work that they are doing.
After your speech, I'll do this.
And look at how we have progressed. While the Indian Institute of Science, or our illustrious space technologists, started largely with government support, but over the years, how we have moved to private sector engagement and now public-private partnership. The Honorable Prime Minister of India has opened up the space sector for greater private sector participation. We now have a private sector person, one of the persons who was earlier heading the effort to make Indian manufacturing competitive through our Scale Committee, Pawan Goenka. Dr. Pawan Goenka is now heading the iSpace, the company which will support private sector participation in space, and clearly we can see India emerging as a global power in space technologies. I think the startup story in a much compressed time frame, there we took about 70 years to reach this stage. Hopefully, the startup story in the 10-year-old story or 9-year-old story now is already in the stage where gradually government intervention is becoming less relevant and the private sector is taking pole position or leadership position on that. So truly, just the way they changed the destiny of modern India, I think our young boys and girls, our innovators are going to change the destiny of India in the next 25 years. The Amrit Kal that you just alluded to, Minister Bora. And when we vision 2047, we can all clearly see before us technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship playing a very, very important role. This workshop, in some sense, is a mix of celebration and reflection. While on the one hand, we are celebrating the wonderful successes that the startup ecosystem has seen over the last 9 years, particularly in the last 9 years. I would think it's the purpose of this workshop is also to crystal gaze into the future, to reflect on what more needs to be done. How can we fast forward and get into mission mode as we work towards a developed nation by 2047, a nation that has inclusive growth and prosperity for every single Indian. And technology can be that great leveler. Technology has the power of, has the ability to empower every single citizen of this country to enjoy the fruits of prosperity of development. And that's why it's incumbent upon this group that is assembled here today, reflecting both the states, the center, and our persons from the academia, from universities, from incubation hubs, the startup ecosystem, our thought leaders. When all of us collectively make this a mission, the fifth pran, 5 प्रण दिए थे ना प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने. पहला तो था विकसित भारत बनाना है, developed nation, the best country in the world. We want to once again become a world leader. But the fifth was, it can only happen when all of us accept this as our duty. कर्तव्य भावना से जब हम इसको करेंगे, तभी ये संभव है. And when you combine the effort of all of us in and around this table and all the support systems behind us, the 100+ unicorns that have come up in the last 8-9 years, the 80,000, 82,000 startups currently registered with DPIIT, and there may be many more who have not yet come into the DPIIT fold. When we look at some of the wonderful work our Atal Innovation Mission is doing, the various incubation centers are doing, the way today's services has become the flag bearer of India's story across the world, the way through COVID, India, in the spirit of an Atmanirbhar Bharat, when we could not find enough and more of equipment and medical supplies that were required to overcome COVID, how we were able to develop within the country on real high-speed basis all the needs of India, whether they are personal protective equipment or rapid testing kits or vaccines, where we have one of the best track records in the world. When you look at the whole perspective of our achievements, it calls for celebration. Of our future, it calls for deep introspection and reflection. And that's what, friends, we are all assembled here to do. It'll be 2 days, today and tomorrow, where we'll learn from each other. where we will have the ability to share our experiences with each other. As almost everybody in the room, in one way or the other, acknowledged, we have to take the culture of celebrating failure to our children, to the next generation. We can't allow our children to be afraid of failure. We can't allow our children to work in the old traditional mold. And I can say I myself initially was a victim of the typical story of a young man. I always wanted to be in the world of finance. But when you get your SSC result, the 10th standard result, and you score very well, then the peer pressure is you take admission in Jai Hind College in Mumbai, in the science stream, go to Agarwal classes to prepare for JEE, and I would religiously go early morning to Dadar, attend 3 hours of classes, take a train from Dadar railway station after crossing tracks from Central to Western Railway, take a fast train to reach Jai Hind College at Churchgate Station in time, only to realize 6 months later that that was not my calling in life when I decided to switch over. And at that point of time, it was very difficult to get admission in a commerce college straight away into 12th, because they said, oh, you've done 11th in science, you can't come in 12th in commerce. The new National Education Policy 2020 changes all that, and in a way is a building block which will prepare India to engage with the future. It enables more flexibility. It focuses on skill development, focuses on vocational training. It recognizes that ability for different career streams should be respected, encouraged, promoted, and given a chance, so that we don't land up as a nation having a number of 3 idiots, where a photographer who wants to actually be a great photographer is forced to go into an engineering college, or an innovator is required to learn by rote what a machine means. Stunned silence. I'm sure we've all seen 3 Idiots. So I'm just saying that this is our opportunity, and let's all collectively grab this opportunity. Let's all collectively look at the startup ecosystem as the brain's trust of India. They have the ability, they need the opportunity. And as I often say, startup is nothing but recognizing what the problem is and finding solutions to the problems. I love the idea that one of our friends from Gujarat, the secretary from Gujarat mentioned, where he said that they have created a directory of problem statements to help and encourage those who don't know where to start from. But problems, there must be 1 billion problems, I think, which are unrecognized, unknown. I had recently shared the example of a couple of kids in Pune, but not from Pune. They looked like coming from one of the outskirts of Pune, who met me in one of my trips when I was on the way to a convocation, and said they just needed a few minutes to explain an idea. So I actually did it standing on the steps of the hotel before I could enter the car. And all it took was 3 minutes for them to explain a problem that every one of us in this room has, I'm sure, thought of, maybe experienced. Some of us may have lost a dear friend or a family member because of that problem. But it took those young kids, one of them was a girl, and 2 young boys, very, very young, very simple kids. They said, sir, in our highways, they spoke to me in Marathi, by the way, so they were clearly very simple kids. They said, on our highways, somehow we have not been able to develop the culture of turning down the light to low beam. And we continue to have long distance driving by trucks, buses, even cars on high beam, which is so dangerous, so accident prone. And they said we've come up with a solution by which after so much X number of minutes, there'll be an alarm. First there'll be an alarm. If he turns it down to low beam, wonderful. If he doesn't, after another few minutes, it automatically turns it down to low beam. Elementary, my dear Watson, as they would say, or he would say. It's quite elementary. And then I thought to myself, you connect that to a chip, you could also get that into a central database. So you know where the culprits are. If there was an accident, you could actually detect who was responsible with a GIS mapping and would actually make people more conscious that they have to turn it down. They are high beam. And another thing that came to my mind, having run the railways once upon a time, is that it will also keep the driver awake. Because when I went to see the Shinkansen in Japan, I was amused. We went to the driver's cabin when I saw the driver talking to himself. And I said, why is he talking to himself? He's continuously saying something. So the guy said, this is getting recorded in a black box because it shows us that he's awake. And he was conscious when the train, high-speed train, was running at such high speed. And then I remembered a story which is of 1985, when I wanted to be a startup entrepreneur. We didn't have those kind of opportunities at that time. But I'm just sharing this with all of you just to tell you that how we've lost years of opportunity, but now is the time to make up and go on double speed. Mohandas, in 1985, a friend of mine and I, he was a student of NM College, NM Institute of Management Studies, NMIMS, in Mumbai, Vileparle, Narsimonji. Both of us thought India imports these heart-lung machines. So why not we make that machine in India? So we started exploring the market, getting statistics, data. So I wouldn't say a startup, I would say more entrepreneur. Sorry, I'll correct myself. It's not exactly a startup, but entrepreneurial activity. And after, in the course of our studies of the market, we went to meet Dr. Bhattacharya, the famous heart surgeon. Much younger at that time, but equally competent today, 35, 37 years later. Equally famous 37 years ago. And we told him of our plans. It was right opposite Jaslok Hospital at Doctor House. It's coming before my eyes as if it happened yesterday. He hears us out and he says, do you know what you're talking about? Have you ever seen that machine? I said, no, we've just seen the pictures of that machine. There was no internet at that time. He said, what are you doing tomorrow morning? I said, free. So come to Jaslok Hospital at 7:30 in the morning. So we both landed up there. He took us fully robed into the operation theater and made us see that operation and what that heart and lung machine was doing. And why I remembered the story is, throughout the operation, he was singing old Devanand movie songs. And music was playing on the background. And I was kind of psyched out what's happening. Such a serious operation, the leg was cut, the heart was cut, he's operating. And he's singing songs. So in the evening, we went back to his office and I asked him that question. And he said that was very essential to keep the temperature low, to keep the mood light, to keep all of us calm and composed so that we don't make a mistake while operating on the patient. So there's so many problems and so many elementary solutions. Different people have found different solutions. That's what I think, in simple words, I understand as a startup. Startup is somebody who finds an innovative, simple solution which either makes business easier, which makes life easier, or more cost effective, more affordable. That is what UPI did. That is what Govt did. And I'm sure with the kind of ideas and deliberations that we have got today on the table and which we'll continue to get tomorrow, we'll all be rethinking the past and reimagining the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your guidance. I will be